Hey, what's up guys? Today let's talk about the Utah Draw. This is part of our Hunt the West series where we go through each state in the West as their application period comes up, and we talk about how to apply and how they give tags out to mostly non-residents because they're usually less familiar. So, Utah, guys, is due. I just barely finished my application. Because my hunting license expires today. So that's one thing about Utah to remember if you're non-resident and you're building points and you're not hunting Utah every year, is that you can use your license for two applications. Just buy it in the middle of the application period, which is typically February, and then the next year you just put in before it expires. Obviously if you're hunting Utah you need to have it with you, so but that's just kind of a cool thing. Makes it pretty cheap to apply. It's $65 license, so if you divide that by 2, you're paying $37.50 a year. You compare that to $160 like you're going to pay in Arizona, Nevada, Oregon. So Utah uses a bonus point system, kind of. Almost every state you'll find uses kind of a hybrid system, and that's kind of. Let me go back here. So Utah uses a bonus point system for most species. They use a preference point system for a couple of species, and their bonus point system isn't really a true bonus point system because they do give preference to the max point holders. So it's kind of a preference slash bonus hybrid something. So the way Utah's draw works is they give 50% of their tags to max point holders. The other 50% go at random, but according to how many points you have that many chances in the draw, plus 1 for that year's application. So that way someone with 0 points, obviously they're going to have at least one chance. So if you've got 10 points, you're going to have actually 11 chances in the draw. 10% of tags are reserved for non-residents in Utah. So if you're looking through their guidebook, which you can download at their website, which is wildlife.utah.gov, you can download a PDF. It has all the information on units and everything like that. Now, if it says in blue in the guidebook that it's a resident-only hunt, don't apply for it because, well, it probably won't let you in their system now because it's all online. But be aware that some tags, they just don't have enough. If they have less than 10, sometimes they'll give 1, but sometimes they won't. So bonus points apply to all of the limited entry species, which you're looking at, and all the once in a lifetime. So moose, sheep, limited entry elk, limited entry deer, all of those. The preference points apply to their antlerless draw and the general season deer draw. And there was a change this year, so be aware of the change. What used to happen in their preference point system is they'd look at everybody's choices. So, for example, I have 3 points. My buddy Bob has 4 points, and so he's ahead of me in the draw. So the way it used to work, you'd have the draw. They'd go through each point number, so each point pool. So Bob would be ahead of me because he has 1 more than me, and they'd actually look at everyone in that point pool, in Bob's point pool, all of their choices before they came down and looked at mine. Now, that's fine, and there's other states that do that, but if you didn't draw your first choice, you kept your points. So what you're seeing is a lot of guys kind of in the mid-level, 2 to 4 or 5 points, that were keeping their points, drawing their second choice tags, and then coming back in the next year and drawing tags ahead of anybody else, right? So Bob could keep his points. Say he didn't draw first choice with his 4 points, he's going to go into the next year with 4 points, whereas I'm with 5 points. So he's going to go into the next year still 1 point ahead of me. If I do draw my first choice, then I'm out, but if I draw second through fifth, then it doesn't matter. So this year they changed it, so no matter what choice you draw your tag on, whether it's first through fifth, you're going to lose your points. So that's going to change the dynamic a lot, I think, and you're going to see a lot more leftover tags because you're going to have guys that aren't going to want to burn their points, not on their first choice unit. So it'll be interesting to see how it changes everything. And it's a good move, I think, because you just had people that were kind of camping there and drawing better tags than other people, several years in a row. So that's one of the big changes. So Utah's application period is right now, and it ends on March 2nd at 11 p.m. And results will be available at the end of May. So Utah has a lot of great country, a lot of great hunting. Their limited entry elk and deer units are great. They have good moose hunting, good sheep hunting, desert and Rocky Mountain bighorns or California bighorns. And as a non-resident, you can apply for everything now. So they also have free-range bison on the Henry Mountains that you can apply for. So that's there's a lot of stuff to put in for in Utah. It's going to cost you $10 per application. When you draw, they'll charge a card for the full amount. So not every tag has non-resident tags, just like most states. If they're only giving out a couple, especially for like sheep and things like that, there's just not a non-resident tag available. One interesting thing about Utah that's a little bit different than a lot of states is, I can't think of another state that does it like this, but they let you apply for general season deer, right? Like we talked about with the preference point system, and limited entry deer separately. So you can't draw both of them because they're going to look at your limited entry drawing first. So you can look at the drawing order. It goes once in a lifetime, limited entry, and then down to general. And so if you draw your limited entry, obviously you can't draw your general tag, but they let you apply for both of them. So, say you're putting in for the Henry Mountains or the Paunsaugunt or the Book Cliffs or whatever, you can also put in and draw a general tag, and it's a different separate point system. Whereas, like you look at Colorado, everything's under the same drawing. Even Wyoming, you look at kind of the general regional tags. They also have limited quota tags, and it's all in the same drawing. But yeah, some really great hunting in Utah. Some of the best elk hunting in the world. I mean, I'd put it in the top 3 probably for trophy bulls with Arizona and Nevada. So I'll put some links in the description here on how to get to their website, how to check your points, some of that stuff. It's really easy to apply. They've made it super simple. You just jump in, log in, put in your information, and then click through each species, add that species, look at it, apply. After you do draw elk, you have a 5-year waiting period. If you draw deer, you have a 2-year waiting period before you can apply again. So like I drew an archery elk tag in Utah in 2011, and I am just barely eligible to apply again. So also, in addition to limited entry elk, there is some what they call any bull units, and these are over-the-counter opportunities. They also have some cool hunts for youth. They call them the youth combo hunts, and they're kind of like a rut hunt on the any bull units that are cool. The way Utah does their landowner tags is kind of interesting too, and something that you probably should know about. They call them cooperative wildlife management units, or CWMUs. Now, CWMUs are a collection of private and public lands that they put into these draw units. And it's essentially like a landowner tag program, but in exchange for giving landowner tags, they also give some public tags that you can draw in the public drawing. Do a little bit of online research, ask some questions here and there, and see what experience guys have. You can also buy these landowner tags. Outfitters do have some of them tied up, but there's some really good hunting on these CWMUs that border, a lot of these like really good trophy type units. So that's how they work their landowner program. You can jump on the website here, and they have a section on there that talks about every CWMU, shows you a map, how many tags are available, success, and it's mostly complete. Usually you can call the operators, ask for referrals, and kind of get to know what's going on there. There's quite a few tags that Utah gives out to conservation organizations and things like that too, where they auction them off to raise money for conservation. So it's another opportunity. So let's go over each species a little bit and talk about kind of what they have to offer. Elk, their archery hunt's pretty early, so you're looking at, I think it's an August 19th opener this year, and it goes into about the first week of September. Then you'll have an early rifle season followed by a muzzleloader season, and then a late rifle season in some units. And then some units have what they call a multi-season tag, where you can jump in there and hunt every season in a unit. So those are really hard to draw, but it gives you a really long hunt for people that have max points and are looking at something that gives them a lot of opportunity. That's probably something to look at. And then the any bowl, you can hunt those, and those are usually October. You can hunt spikes over the counter for archery and rifle in a lot of the limited entry units. So it's a little bit different. I mean, there's a lot of states that do a spike hunt, but they're taking the animals off when they're yearlings, and then letting them grow after that to be harvested as mature bulls. Moose numbers are down everywhere. Mountain goat, there's some great opportunities for mountain goat in Utah. There's quite a few all over the state. Utah does do a good job of relocation and getting new herds started. And then the Henry Mountains hunt. This is one of few free-range bison hunts. There is desert sheep in the southern half of the state, and Rocky Mountain bighorns in the northern half. Mule deer throughout the whole state. There's no whitetail hunts in Utah, so there's a few around, but there's not a hunt for them specifically. Anyway, guys, that's kind of how Utah works. It's pretty simple, really. Like, just kind of got to jump on the website during the application time, pick the hunts you want to put in for, and pay your money. And up front, you have to have a license, but then you just pay $10 per application. And so, if you're a non-resident and you're applying for 6 species, it's $60. If you're a resident and applying for 2 species, it's $20. So it's just pretty flat, pretty easy. The point system is pretty easy to understand. I mean, you're talking a 50-50 split where half go to top point holders and half go to everybody else. And 10% in general, 10% of tags are reserved for non-residents. So keep that in mind, guys. Good luck in the draw. Or make sure you get in before the deadline in March if you want to hunt Utah. And we'll be back with our next episode of our Hunt the West podcast here at Altitude Outdoors.